Good evening, everyone. It's Tom Sydney Bushnell, aka Numbers, here from Sight Club and from the Tom Numbers Show. And I'm here with my buddy, Mr. Ismail Perez. Ismail, how are you, buddy? It's been a few weeks. It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too, Tom. I've been really busy trying to get the word out there to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
About disclosure. I had an opportunity to speak at the Biomed Expo last weekend, and some of the questions that the audience were asking were very significant. You know, they wanted to know if there's any negative ETs still lurking around in our world. And the answer to that was yes, there's a small group of them. And guess where they've been hiding this whole time?
Where?
Ukraine, in the underground.
I thought you were going to say in the Truth Movement. Okay.
No,
in Ukraine.
I'm talking about negative ETs. I'm talking about reptilians and the insectoids.
No, I think there's good ETs that be in the Truth Movement, but some people have been saying, "Oh, there's a few." You know, I was being kind of a bit tongue in cheek. I was like, "Where have they been?" But that makes sense if it's in Ukraine. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So what's happening over there, and what's been happening for the last 9 months, is a straight out Star Wars taking place. I know on a surface level, it appears like Mr. P is fighting the NATO and the corruption in Ukraine, but a deeper level, it's involving Space Force. So we do have some active super soldiers of Prototype 9. I was part of Prototype 6, 7, but we do have some active super soldiers of Prototype 9 that are actually engaged in this interdimensional warfare.
You were part of Prototype 7, you say, yeah?
Prototype 7, yes. My mother was Prototype 5. Well, I mean, she wasn't a super soldier, but she was groomed to have me in a project for Project Oak Tree. But Prototype 9 is the latest super soldiers. Those are the millennials that have been coming in. Now they're like in their early 20s. So they have been involved.
Project Oak Tree, is that what you said?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Sorry, continue on that with Ukraine and the prototypes. That was a new phrase for me, so I'll ask you about that later. But yeah, please continue, buddy.
Yeah, well, Project Oak Tree is also related with Project Ibis. So Project Ibis was women that were born in the 50s that were pretty much groomed by the positive ETs to give birth to people in the late 70s and early 80s, which became part of Project Oak Tree to create the 7th prototype super ultra soldiers. In some cases, they were super soldiers, but for Project Oak Tree, there was different divisions. But the whole point is that the super soldier program continued all the way up until the 80s and 90s. And I think it stopped around the year 2000. And those are the millennials, of course. Those are the ones that have been actually engaged in this final battle against the negative ETs that have been lurking around in the dumps of Ukraine and other European countries. But Ukraine was a huge, and it still is. I mean, from what I understand is that Space Force is winning that war, obviously.
Okay. So,
yeah, they're just getting rid of the last of the last residue of these negative aliens.
Okay. How do you spell Project Ibis? How do you spell that?
IBIS, Ibis.
Oh, Ibis. Okay, yeah.
Ibis.
Okay. And that was in the 50s. That's interesting. When you said that, my ears pricked up because my mum was born in the 50s. She was born in 52, and I was born in 75. And I'm like, oh. Anyway, it was just funny. I was like, oh, really? Okay. Who knows? But okay, that's cool. They're two new things I didn't know about: Project Ibis and Project Oak Tree. You know what? You're going to like this, Ismail. So today is, depending on what channel you're watching on, today is April 1st. Mm-hmm. April is 56, which is healing, which is light. So first light, first healing. And today, this afternoon, I was out and I saw this beautiful, it's been kind of overcast here in England the last little while. It's been quite overcast and a bit gloomy a little bit. Felt maybe a little bit gloomy, just kind of cloudy and cold. But today, I remembered what the sun was like, because for about an hour, the heavens parted and beautiful blue sky, bright sun. And I was like, first light, April 1st, you know. And then it kind of got a little cloudy, but it's still a beautiful sunset. But today is, here, I'll do it for you. So if you do, so January has 31 days. February of this year has 28 days. That takes you 31 plus 28 takes you to 59. 59 is many things, but one of them is Joker. And then if you go to 31 days in March, and we finished that yesterday. So today is the 91st day of the year. And you've started off the show talking about Space Force, because when you spell the word Space Force, it comes to 91. So today is a Space Force day, and you brought up Space Force and about, you know, the Star Wars type war going on in Ukraine. So I wanted to mention that. My ears pricked up when you said that, so that's appropriate. And also, Space Force, we know, helps assist lead humanity into liberty and into the future. And both the words future are 91, and liberty is 91. The Father is 91, and also POTUS is also 91. They all come to 91, and today is the 91st day of the year. So I thought that was pretty cool. Tomorrow's the 2nd, which is 92 numbers. On Monday, it'll be 93rd day of the year, which is 93 Bushnell. So anyway, you know, it's a nice little thing that popped up. I thought that was interesting. So yeah, tell us more about this project. Let me look at this. So Project Oak Tree. You told us a little bit. You tell us a little bit more about that, if you would.
Sure. So it's all under the umbrella. Okay, so there's 2 different super soldier projects, 2 categories, different divisions. There's the negative branch, which began with the Nazis back in the late 1920s and early 1930s, and that was known as Project Omega. And of course, there's different different divisions of Project Omega. They were never known as the Dark Fleet, by the way. They were known as the Omega Fleets.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the real name of the Nazi/Draco Alliance breakaway group. And the reason they're called the Omega Fleets is because they're all working for the AI god that is plaguing the multiverse, known as Sorian Omega. So the AI god does have a name, and the AI god has been at the head of the entire NAA negative alien agenda hierarchy, not only within our universe, but within many other universes. So the positive category was divided into different divisions. I think they had a total up to 10. Again, the 10th one being the one that the Super Soldier program that was recently initiated about 22 years ago, the year 2000. But it all started in the 1950s with Project. It was all under the head umbrella of Project Rainbow Rescue, Cosmic Rainbow Rescue, which it's a program that was initiated by the benevolent ETs as they contacted our U.S. Navy, of course, the white hats that were operating within the U.S. Navy, to initiate the series of super soldier programs that began with Project Stargate. And then, of course, there were other projects that, involved a lot of enhancements in human genetics, human upgrades by activating dormant DNA. Unfortunately, because there was some sort of collaboration between the Dark Hats and the White Hats in the 1950s. And what I mean by the Dark Hats, I'm talking about the off-world group that was known as the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, the ICC. Most of these children were actually experiencing a lot of trauma-based, undergoing a lot of trauma-based experiences, in order to prep them for their upcoming mission as they interact with other extraterrestrials and stuff, as when they serve their 20-year and back. And so Project Stargate was the initial the name of the original program that set the different prototypes of different generational super soldiers. So in the 50s, they initiated Project Ibis. Now, Project Ibis had different also categories. We had those that were working with Solar Warden, and then those that were working with with Radiant Guardians. And then in the whole purpose of Project Ibis was to travel back in time to the ancient world and extract genetics from Zeus, Achilles, Hercules, Thoth, and including Solomon, bring those genetics back in time and install those genetics in certain embryos in order to create a super being. So that was what Project Oak Tree was about. And then Project Beast involved the mothers that were chosen to be the carriers of these super soldiers that were going to be born in the mid-70s, late 70s, and early 80s. So yeah, those are the different super soldier programs. So when we look at movies like Black Adam and when we look at how Black Adam was designed, right?
Yeah.
When you see how pretty much it's a disclosure of what Project Oak Tree was all about. So the Ultra Soldiers from Radiant Guardians and the Super Soldiers from Solar Warden, who, by the way, are the heroes in our galaxy and in our universe. And then, of course, the Ultra Soldier Division, who worked in other universes, are the heroes in the multiverse. When they were genetically jacked to using about 30 to 50% of their genetic material, they were actually enacting superpowers like electricity, flight, levitation. Their bodies became indestructible. And I was part of the Ultra Soldier program, which involved fighting the AI war in other universes. As my memories slowly keep creeping up, I think I'm just going to have to get a QHHT, which is a quantum healing. It was developed by Dolores Canning. I think it's quantum healing, something to do with hypnotizing me and regressing me so that I could unlock my memories within my subconscious mind. Because unfortunately, when you do serve in the 20-year and back, they do blank slate you. Blank slate meaning like they do erase your memories, and then they bring you back. They age regress you. Now the age regress, not all of them were, involved cloning. I believe that the division that worked within the ranks of Radiant Guardians, they would actually use advanced chambers to literally regenerate the same body. So that way they wouldn't need to extract the consciousness of one body in order to infuse it in the younger body when they were done with their 20-year and back service. So I was never cloned, in other words, but a lot of the super soldiers, unfortunately, within the super soldier program were cloned about 3 different times, depending on how many missions they served. Yeah.
Wow. Clones. It's an interesting subject because I've done, we both know Janine. I've done shows with her on clones, and she seems to think there's a lot more clones out there than we would necessarily think or kind of naturally think. President Trump has said that a lot more people are dead than we would think. So what does he mean by that? If a lot more people are dead than we think, just logically be like, well, if there were more people dead than we think, that means that there's a lot that we don't know that are dead. If someone's dead, you know that they've gone missing, they're not around. So therefore, there's got to be something alert people are protected or kept covered from knowing that people are dead. So what does that mean? A walk-in, a clone, a copy of someone. So he said that. He said that there's a lot more people dead than you would believe, than you would know. So it seems like a lot of, there could be a lot more of clones around. And they do this soft disclosure in the newspaper, the Daily Star, which is always my go-to for kind of, there's many places I go to, but one of them, and it's like clockwork, it's always producing confirmations in the comedic front pages and the back pages sometimes. But they would always refer to Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock, the health secretary and the PM here in England, or was during Corona, as clowns. And when you say that, so they have pictures of them as clowns, they'd always say Bobo the clown and Coco the clown. But when you phonetically spell clone, CLOWN, that's clown, but you should say it clone, because own, CLOWN. So when they mock them and say they're clowns, I think they're actually telling us that they're clones. They've been cloned. And a lot of other people, other truthers have said that about them. So it's a very interesting subject, and I think it's probably as time goes on, we'll understand more and have more disclosure on it, and maybe we'll interact with people and we'll realize actually maybe maybe there's something slightly different about them, you know. But it's a fascinating subject, you know. It's fascinating. Talking of the paper, I wanted to show this to you, Ismail, actually. Here we go. So today, like I said, is April Fool's. We'll get on to President Trump in a moment. But here, so this is the Star newspaper. So yesterday I did a show with Matt, well, a couple of days ago, I did a show with Matt Letitia and Derek Johnson, and I put it out on my locals yesterday, which was 31st of March. That was kind of my first locals show. And anyway, I call it the Tom Numbers Show, which is the same as my YouTube channel, but it's on locals. The word locals comes to 62, which is Nicola is one value for it. But locals comes to 62. The Tom Numbers Show comes to 238. If you add them together, if you do locals, or the Tom Numbers Show locals, or locals, the Tom Numbers Show, it comes to 300, because it's 62 plus 238. Anyway, I only figured this out this afternoon, but I was doing the numbers on this yesterday. So this is today's newspaper here in England, but it gets shown on Twitter, like kind of the late evening, I should say, in England. So we get to a preview of what's coming out. Can you see that okay? Is that clear enough to see? Yeah,
it says unusual suspect.
That's it. Mm-hmm. There's a play on word. The Bigly Unusual Suspect. So it's a play on words with the Usual Suspects was that film. You got President Trump, because they're talking about his arrest, possible arrest. And there's also something, you know, I said at the beginning of the show, I felt kind of been a bit gloomy, maybe felt a little bit, I'm always positive usually, but I maybe felt a little bit like, oh, you know. So can you see what they put here? Can you see that?
Cheer up, Tom. Is that for you?
Cheer up, Tom. Yeah. And then you got Daily Star, is the newspaper. That's the title of it. But Daily Star is 109, which is Sight Club, which is the name of my main channel on YouTube, Sight Club, which also spells the word 17. So this is a disclosure newspaper. And there's also a reference to, and he's my friend, but there's a guy called Baby Trump in the movement, and there's a little reference to Baby Trump there as well. Mm-hmm. So he kind of expressed his feelings this week. So if you're watching, Chris, and everyone involved, I'm friends with all the truthers, but sometimes people have kind of disagreements and things. Anyway, but it says "Man, Baby Trump," Baby Trump, man, and it's kind of making a reference to. Anyway, so there you go. So that's there. But yeah, Chris does great events. I did his event in Texas, and he's a character, and I like him. So, and I like the other truthers that I do shows with and I've met. So, anyway, here we go. But get this, Ishmael. So, locals, the Tom Numbers Show. So when you add all of these words up, the Bigly Unusual Suspect. So the Bigly, which is a strange way to write it, comes to 88, which is Trump, which is who they're depicting. But the Bigly Unusual Suspect, it comes to 300. It comes to locals, the Tom Numbers Show. And I did that yesterday. And then this came out literally a few hours after I'd done the show. So this is today's paper. But like I said, they do the preview online. So what I'm saying is, and then they're saying, cheer up, Tom, because it has been a bit kind of overcast, you know. But I wanted to share that with you and with the viewers. There you go. Cheer up, Tom. Okay, I'm cheering up.
Exactly.
So, but they do these things to confirm the work that we're doing. So I won't be surprised a few days down the line, maybe even tomorrow, there'll be a reference to something you and me have brought up because it happens all the time.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Terminator films. Terminator 133 is actually coming on TV again here tonight, here in England. Terminator 133, which comes to reprogrammed, and we know in the Terminator films, he came back as a bad one, came into the show as a baddie. In Terminator 2, he's been reprogrammed, and Schwarzenegger says that. He says, I was reprogrammed to come back and rescue John Connor and protect him in the future. So reprogrammed is 133. Simulation is 133, and it's beginning to feel more and more like this is some kind of simulation, a matrix simulation. And then also the Transformer films have been on. You know, the Transformers with Shia LaBeouf, where they, you know, Decepticons and Autobots. Interestingly enough, Autobots is 166. Transformers is 166. And that comes through the simulation or the reprogrammed. And they depict how literally they can put a God spot. They can put, because of this cube, and you probably know more about this than I do, but they depict the cube and they can say how they basically have the ability, and there's a dark side to it and there's a light side to it, and they can put the God spark into anything. So it could be a phone. They do a demonstration and they go, okay, and then they do it with the cube, sparks into the phone, and then it turns into a transformer, into a robot. It has life and it can function. And I've been thinking all these synchronicities that we get in the newspapers, in numbers, in coincidences. You walk past someone and they say something. You know, I might walk past someone and they'll say Perez, and I'll be thinking of you and the show we're doing. I've had that with other people. So I'm wondering, it feels like it, because they have to disclose it, that we're in such a beautifully layered creation that things could change before you. They can manifest in front of you. If this needs to be a robot at a given moment, it could be. If you need to have someone as a clone give you a message and then disappear, or they need to be an alien come down. That's another thing the paper said last week, that people down the road, you know, the person in the shop or the barber shop could be an alien. So they're telling us in the newspapers. And I've had an instance this week where there's someone I've known for a while, and I'm thinking actually they're an alien. And then I did some numbers on it and it confirmed. And then I was talking to my brother about someone he knows, and he typed her name in on Google and it came up with her name plus alien at the end. So it's just like, they're telling us, you know. So we're in this beautiful, wacky matrix, and there's a dark side to it, but there's a good side and a light side, and we're going more into the light. And it's actually really becoming kind of just amazingly fun. I mean, it's always been fun, but now it's like, really, is this possibly what the reality is? You know, that we're in this, this matrix that can literally transform before us in the simulation, because the simulation is 166, which is Transformers. And also Optimus Prime, the leader of the Autobots, the good one, he is 174, which comes to real Donald Trump, which comes to Stormy Daniels, which comes to Supreme Court, which comes to, which comes to Trust the Plan, 174, which comes to I Have the Storm, 174. And it also comes to currency exchange for the revaluation. And it's the very first code that President Trump and Melania showed us when they came down the escalators. So 174. I Caught the Swamp is 174. How did President Trump do that? With help and assistance from divine and higher beings of abilities and intelligence and technologies. Quantum is 107, 107. That comes to Trump's. 107 comes to military. We're always told in the Q post it had to be done by the military. It's been done by the military, but it's also been done by quantum. 107. 107 is Superman. 107 is Trump's. 107 is Aquarius. 107 is eternal life. 107 is currency. There's all those things. Apprentice, President Trump. The Apprentice. Apprentice is 107. The Apprentice is 140. The military. The Trumps. Tom Numbers. All these things, you know. And going back to Judgment Day with Terminator, 129. That's Ismail Perez, 129. So anyway, I just wanted to express the beauty of all of these confirmations that we're getting continually. And you probably see these synchronicities in your life, Ismail, you know.
all the time. Yeah.
See? Yeah.
That's how we know that we are on the right path, that we are, unveiling or uncovering more of where we need to be, our life's mission and purpose. Reading basically meeting the right type of people at the right time. I mean, it's all being orchestrated, by a universal intelligence. People sometimes forget that we live in a conscious living universe where at the underlying level of reality, there is a universal intelligence, an inner intelligence that operates through all living things, through planets, through galaxies, through plants, through people. And ultimately, that living intelligence is orchestrating everything.
Exactly.
And we're just expressions of it. Sometimes when we get like nudges or impulses or inspiration, or when all of a sudden we get a thought, it's never original. It's because we're tapping into the universal intelligence. It's always existed.
Yeah. Nothing new under the sun.
Exactly.
That's what they say, don't they?
And that's how I pretty much, I think it was after in the introduction of my book, Our Cosmic Origin, as I encourage people to read it with an open mind, because it is a mind bender. I don't know if you had a chance to read my book, Tom.
I haven't, Ismail. You have to send me one, or I'll get one on. Yeah, I'd love to read it. That would be cool. Yeah.
Oh my God, brother, don't be left behind. You have to understand the galactic history, the cosmic organization of universes. It all ties into what's happening on the Earth, But what I do is in the first chapter, the introduction, I end it by saying nothing is new under the sun,
There you go.
Meaning, even what we think it's new theory or new information is really just old information that has been suppressed. It's all just resurfacing once again.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. You just said a phrase. I just did the numbers on it, but I've forgotten the first words. It was a couple. You talked about universal intelligence, and then you said another word with it. What was it? Universal intelligence.
Oh, it's the underlying field that expresses itself through everything, through people, and it's got a light side and it's got a dark side. It's part of the overall, what it is, my friend, is that everything's a game. The entire universe is set up as a game. It's pixelated. It's all pixelated.
It is. That's the thing. It's crazy, isn't it? We're in a game. This is a Pokemon game, and it's like Pokemon Go game. And guess what the word is? God 26 equals game 26. That's what we're in. That's what this last week or two. I mean, I've felt it before, but I felt it a lot more. And then with the cloud, I was like, is it really that? And there was a little bit of a feeling of like, oh fuck, it's just that. And then I was like, but it's like, so nothing's really real. And then, but then it's like, no, but they've got the God spark, and then you kind of come, but it's these kind of waves of understanding and feelings, and like, okay, sit with that for a while, okay. And I've felt that before, but it kind of felt more and more so. But I agree, it is. Everything's pixelated. Everything's pixelated, and Elon Musk said it because he put us onto the simulation theory, a few years ago, and it made sense. It all before Corona and stuff. I was like, that makes the most sense. He said, well, you won't be able to distinguish reality from virtual reality when the basically the pixelation becomes so fine. Once it's small enough, you won't be able to tell the difference. I do wonder how they do things like sight and taste and feel and everything else, because pixelation just, as in visual, I can understand that. But the other stuff, I'm like, how's that work? But I guess it's all, in the brain and all these signals and impulses, but they're doing it somehow. But yeah, game is 26. God is 26. We're in a game. We're in a game,
Exactly.
And it's all numbers. That's what I did. So I did number. So I did universal intelligence. Universal intelligence. Universal number intelligence. That comes to 309, which comes to close encounters of the third kind. Sorry, correction. No, it doesn't. It comes to 309, which is the shot heard around the world. But 309 comes to that important date. The 309th day of the year is November 5th. November 5th, we were told here in England to always remember. But November 5th is it's the time travel date in Back to the Future, so it's a key thing, you know. But yeah, everything's pixels and numbers. I did the numbers on pixels just the other day. I should do it again. I can't remember what they are, but pixelated. We're in a pixelated reality, Ismail.
Yeah, and you know what they call it in science? The smallest scale, a Planck length, which is a tetrahedron.
Yeah, that's it. We did it. Yeah, yeah. Max Planck.
You know.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
this whole simulation theory, it began with Max Planck, when he said that behind every physical thing, time and space, there's some sort of force that holds it together. You know, but in essence, it's really just empty space. 99.9% of all atoms is empty space. And the only reason we interface with physical objects is because there is some sort of convergence taking place between your consciousness in your physical avatar with the electromagnetic fields that manifest the 3D reality. But there are multiple electromagnetic fields that manifest the different densities and dimensions. So we could say that, you know, our simulation is a simulation that exists within another simulation that is operating at a higher frequency. And then that in itself is a projection of another simulation. And ultimately, it also involves geometry. You know, it's geometry and sound. And light, of course, you know, like in the book of the first book of the Bible, let there be light, you know, in the beginning there was light. Well, it's part of the beginning point that gave us the simulations, the different simulations that we exist in.
Yeah.
And so the question would be, what is base reality?
I know. What is it?
I come to discover that base reality is the 13th dimension and up, because beyond the 13th dimension, my friend, there is no physicality. Everything is just pure consciousness. And pure consciousness is eternal, without beginning or end.
Right.
Yeah, everything else is just a manifestation, a step down version through the lowering of vibration, which I explain in my book very well. That's why you should get my book, my friend. It explains everything. It's an attempt to explain everything.
I do need to read it. Yeah, I do. And you've got the new updated version, don't you, as well?
Version, yeah. Revealing what happens after the ascension, which is very significant for people to know in order to begin preparing now for what's going to happen after we ascend. A lot of beautiful things are ahead of us, you know. And as I speak right now, the biggest CMEs have been blasting us in the last few weeks.
CMEs?
CMEs, coronal mass ejections. Oh, and get this, they've discovered, and this is science, by the way.
Did you just say coronal mass ejections?
Correct, yeah.
So pixel is 66, which is woman, which is happy, which is event, Thames, the River Thames, but it's corona. So it's the coronavirus, so maybe it's the pixel virus. So it's like, okay, we're going to base zero, we're going to figure all this out. And then pixels with an S is 85, which is matrix, which is storm, which is awakening.
Get this, my friend, they recently discovered that there is a hole in the sun 10 times the size of the earth. And that was reported by the, I believe it was reported by astronomy. So it is a fact.
Really?
Recently that there is a hole in our sun, a black hole, that is 10 times the size of our planet. Wow. Which means that the CMEs are only going to increase and get bigger and bigger and more stronger and stronger, which leads to the solar flash. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, I've always said, but between now or, you know, between 2018 and 2024. So.
Wow. I mean, it does feel like things are ramping up. I feel there's something, when President Trump says the best is yet to come, that's 228. So if you drop the 2028, I feel that's the best is yet to come. But between now and then, but maybe there's an earlier version of best is yet to come. I mean, if we can get it now or 2024, let's do it. I'm up for that. I'm up for that. I just did the numbers on pixelation. So pixelation is 125, which is time travel, John Kennedy, dark to light 125. Pixels 85, matrix awakening storm. Pixel 66, corona event happy woman. You have to, so in the matrix, you know, biblically the matrix is like the womb. It's, you know, it's the place of creation. I think the word creation comes to 85 as well, if I remember rightly. So pixel, woman, you have to enter the matrix, pixels, to create. And that's when you propagate in the matrix. Wow. President Trump's been telling us as well that it's pixelations, because some of his trump cards are digital trump cards. Superheroes 125, pixelation. There you go. So you become a super when you understand pixelation properly, you can waft it around and do as you need to and be a superhero. Superhero is 125.
You could affect the reality by realizing that it's just it's a projection of really your own perception. And so that's why perception is key when it comes to controlling the mass production of reality for all the collective reality. And that's something elites have always known. So once we change our perception about things and we really believe it, like to the core of our heart, we could actually start doing things that would appear to be, you know, supernatural.
Yes.
Because then we begin to control the simulation by what? By tapping into the quantum through our mind. See, our mind is our consciousness, rather, my friend, is intimately connected with the quantum field through our thoughts and our emotions.
Yes.
It's important to always be mindful of your thoughts and emotions, because it is believed that that every second of the day we're constantly quantum shifting into parallel Earths. So, you know, there is a version of you that has everything you've ever desired: financial freedom, your dreams coming true, everything you've ever wanted to do. There's a version of you that is living in poverty.
Where is that version?
And then of course everything in between. So
where is that version?
In the quantum field, my friend,
it's in here somewhere. Where is it? Yeah.
It's in a parallel reality, but like again, you have to collapse the wave function.
The wave function, yes.
Wave function.
I've forgotten what they are, because I did a whole bunch on. We'll have to do that in the next show. I did a download on wave function about 10 days ago, and I got loads of it. And I'd have to go through them again, but remember what they are. You said control the simulation. So I said about the best is yet to come. So have you heard of the author, presenter, speaker, truther, Greg Braden, scientist? Have you heard of him?
I have, yeah.
So Greg Braden, I've always liked his work, but he talks about this DNA. There's a code in the DNA, and they've depicted a natural sentence, which is God eternal within the body. I think we might have mentioned this before, but God eternal within the body comes to 263, God eternal within the body.
Right.
That also comes to 2028. So if you spell out 2028, that comes to 263. And I said earlier, just a few moments ago, 2028, if you drop the zero, that's 228, which is the phrase, the best is yet to come. And so the question is, what is the best? You know, is there something beyond a solar flash? Maybe, or maybe we're able to, maybe 228 correlates to 2023 or 2024. But something President Trump always talks about, the best is yet to come, 228, when you spell it out as a date, 2028, it comes to 263, which is God eternal within the body, which is the DNA code in us, the message. But then you said control the simulation, and I might have got this. I spoke with my friend Femke about this a week or two ago, and I think I might have done the codes on it, but I'd forgotten it. So this might be fresh, or a re-remembrance. It's fresh for today anyway. You said control the simulation. So control the simulation comes to 263, which comes to God eternal within the body, which is the message in our DNA. So once we've got that understanding, so once we fully understand and believe that we can control the pixelation, then we're free to do as we want. We're gods, we're games. We're God. We're the game. We are God. We are the game. You know.
Well, look at it this way: we're the architect of the matrix.
Yes. The architect, exactly.
Because a lot of people think it's this guy with the beard, you know, like as depicted in the movie The Matrix, this guy with the white beard.
White suit, yeah.
But it's a metaphor. It's a religious metaphor as to why in religious organization they've always depicted God with this beard sitting on top of a cloud. But the truth of the matter is, it all boils down to that universal intelligence, that inner intelligence that exists within all living things. It is everywhere in the universe, my friend.
Yeah.
And when we realize that we are that we are that, in other words, everything in the universe is us, and we are it, and we are it, and it is us, then we begin to what? Control the matrix. We become the architect, right?
Yeah.
We're able to bend reality at will. And that's probably the biggest secret that the powers that be have known for thousands of years, at our expense, of course, due to limited knowledge, right? But now that we are living in a time where all the mystery school teachings, all the gnosis regarding our connection to this universal intelligence, you know, an example of that is the law of attraction, manifestation, the law of resonance. Those are just byproducts, right? You know, they say, well, you know, there's more to the law of attraction than just thinking something. You know, you have to vibrate, you have to be resonating at a certain frequency to attract that which is similar. But I believe that even that is a byproduct. It all boils down to one thing, my friend, is realizing that we are the universal intelligence, that there's no difference between us and that field of energy that permeates all of existence. Think about it in terms like this. So according to quantum physics, particles, light, the light wave is one field, right? One field. And the moment there is an observer, right? It collapses into particle form. Well, when you think about it, all of us are the different particles within this one infinite light field. So when we begin to disassociate ourselves as the particle and begin to realize that we are the field, right, the universal intelligence, then what? And we believe it, then our perception changes, right? We change ultimately the image of ourselves, and we become the universal architect.
Wow. We are the universal. We are universal intelligence. I think comes to 320, which is liberty enlightening the world, which is the name of the Statue of Liberty, and also John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. I might have missed a word out on the bit about we are the universal intelligence. I just did it, and also so you brought up the architect. Architects, that's true. Architect is 87. Truth, justice, 87. Stellar. So I am the architect. I am, you are, everyone back home listening and watching. That comes to 143. 143 comes to Kryptonian. 143 comes to November 5th, the day that I mentioned earlier. And it comes to ground zero. So there's metaphors with 9/11 for that. You know, ground zero, you collapse in the wave function to create something new. Even building 7, 143. And my cousin Paul, bless him, I talk about him a lot, but he gave me the numbers at the same time when I met Ivanka Trump. She activated me. He died just a few days before. Then I met 2 people with the same date of birth as him, 118, which is the storm, the matrix. And the pixels, 118. But his name, Paul Bushnell, comes to 143, which comes to I am the architect. I am the truth. I am the justice. Wow. Kryptonian.
Exactly.
Wow. This is great, buddy.
Yep.
I love where we go with the show. Because this is the fun part. This is what I want to know. It's like, you know.
Well, think about it this way.
For reasons, you know.
Yeah, the reason the world for the last thousands of years has experienced suffering, limited human conditions, poverty, just negative scenarios is because the wrong people have been using the power of the universal life force, right?
Yeah.
We could say the negative people who have discovered this secret long ago have been using that against us towards their advantage, right? So my belief is that if we get enough of the good people believing that and understanding how really reality works and realizing that they are the architect, we could flip it. We could instantly, within a split of a second, we could flip reality over and shift the entire consciousness of the entire planet, or at least collective reality, into a positive reality where people are no longer in a state of suffering or lack or limitation.
That's right. You're right. That's exactly right. And that's why, even just on
the wrong people have been using this power, have been, using this secret for thousands of years.
Yeah.
That's what we call them, the dark magicians, right? Because that's what it boils down to, right? The negative architects.
That's true. That's
so
true.
You have light architects, and you have negative architects. See, the universal life force knows no difference. It just is.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Huh, that's interesting. So I just redid those numbers. So when I said 320 for we are the universal intelligence, it's actually 321, 321. So that makes, 3, 2, 1. It's like a countdown. It's like we are the universal intelligence. I guess if you did something like I am the universal intelligence, or is no, that wouldn't really. Anyway, 3, 2, 1 instead of 320. But yeah, positive. So you said so that's the interesting thing. So the word positive is 115 and the word intelligence is 115. Mm-hmm. So architects is 106, which is red pilling. It's also platinum, which is a precious metal, probably the third precious metal. So let's have a look at this. So positive, what was it you said? Positive architects and negative architects. So positive architects, 221. That's 1,000. That's 1,000 years apiece. 221. Positive architects. That's cool. The positive architect. This is interesting. So, because we're going to get disclosure on this, I've got a few thoughts on this, but and this sounds controversial. I've mentioned it before, but I personally feel, I can't prove it, but my feelings and intuition on it, I think that a lot of those people in the Twin Towers were rescued. And I think they went into witness protection and were given roles in this awakening process now. I can't prove it, but the thoughts come a lot. And I was watching, they were showing a documentary on that just a few days ago about 9/11. They're showing all these things right now, brother. Everything is like coming to this crescendo. All things are being revealed everywhere, like on the TV, in movie, everything. All these subjects are all being brought. And then it's like when you see it from a different perspective, it's like, okay.
It's all part of the mass awakening, the great awakening.
Yeah.
It's all coming out for a reason.
Yes, it is. So the positive architects comes to 254. The 254th day of the year is September 11th. Get this, brother. So I mentioned this on the show with Matt and Derek, but you do Tower 1, that comes to 115, comes to positive, comes to intelligence. Mm-hmm. There'll be other phrases for it, but and then Tower 2 comes to 139, which comes to money exchange, comes to Christopher as well. Comes to a few things. Rachel Numbers. I'm Tom Numbers. I nicknamed Right Side Blonde. Sometimes call her Rachel Numbers. That's 139. Christopher Miller. He's kind of got just there's Commander-in-Chief President Trump, and then the General Secretary of the U.S. military is Christopher Miller. Not Milley, and not Christopher Ray, as I incorrectly thought about the FBI guy, but Christopher Miller. But Christopher is 139, so it's an important number. But you add them together, so tower 1, 115, tower 2, 139, but you add them together, it comes to 254. And it's the 254th day of the year. And people said how that was brought down, and that was a portal being opened with the baddie. But they're also, as with all this, there always has to be a positive counterpart as well. I actually think that's going to be reversed. I think when we see forward disclosure, I think that will come back. I think there'll be 3 towers in the end, because you've got tower, the World Trade Center 1, 219, which is DJT, Donald John Trump, which is the Mount of Olives. So it's a reflection of Israel. And when Christ sets his foot upon the Mount of Olives, it cleaves. But then I believe that those 2 towers will come back, and you'll have 3 towers there at the tip of Manhattan. And 3, 111 is illusion. It's also perfection, and it's also New York. And I think there'll be 3. I think that's personally, I feel that they'll come back. There was a few, I can't remember the exact phrases, but there was a few things in the documentary, and it looked like they had actors talking about stuff. I'm not saying that all of it was, but we know that it's like with JFK, the things you see, there's layers upon layers upon layers. And we know there's a big witness protection program. You know, even just in America, there's over 19,000 people in witness protection. Who are they? What are they doing? Are they amongst us now? Yes, probably. And so there's so many things. But I hope that I feel that's probably the case. And I also hope that's the case that people got out, that they got them out. Exactly. Because a lot of it was digital projections. If they can project, you know, if you can project an airplane going on, God bless them, but you can project maybe people jumping and things, you know. I know that's, you know, raw for people, but if that's a possibility, then maybe that's a reality, and therefore people weren't, and therefore they were protected and got out, you know. There's so many things that could be done, you know. But I think that we're going to see more disclosure on that. I'm hoping that people that were in there got out. I've heard it from other places, and I've felt it for a while. And some people might say, well, that's heresy. How dare you say that? But if you look beyond it, it's a message of potential hope for people, you know, because there is a resurrection coming. 198 is President Trump. 198 is the Statue of Liberty, which overlooks the towers. The towers, World Trade Center is 185, Donald John Trump. Building 7 is 143, Melania Trump. Ground Zero is 143. 143 is, what did we say it was? We just did it. 143, we talked about Kryptonian. 143, I am the architect. 143, you know.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, exactly. It does. It does. You know, so there's higher forces, as you know, and I know, and our viewers know, you know. So and
because these higher forces are connected through us, they work through people like me and you know?
Yes. They do. That's it, buddy. They do. I mean, I've seen orbs in my videos. I've seen numbers have descended upon me, all kinds of things, you know. Disclosure with, you know, lights in the sky, moments of time pausing or shifting travel, all these things. It's like, wow, with it, what we've been told and what we thought is just not the case about so many things. Pretty much everything, you know.
Yeah, and people have also been reporting orbs. They see little sparks of different color lights around me. Oh, hello.